Mr. Bartlett, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a Happy New Year. It's good to see faces again. Let's move right into the consent agenda. Do I have I'm assuming everyone's had a chance to review them. Is there any comments or questions?
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. All right, let's move into the action items. Approve community council member appointments. Yardis?
Good morning, Yaridis Garcia, Community Engagement Manager for JWB. I would like to ask Joanne Rich, she's our Community Engagement Advocate for North County, to appoint the North County representative, and I will come back for the Mid-County Community Council representative.
Good morning and Happy New Year. It is my pleasure to introduce to you today for consideration of your appointment to the North County, Ellen Navarro Anderson. Ms. Anderson is a passionate child advocate who comes to us from the lovely city of Clearwater via other places that she's lived before. I first met Ellen when I was giving a presentation at the Junior League of Clearwater and Dunedin region. And she approached me after and we talked, and we've talked several times. And I think she's going to be a wonderful addition to the council. She's previously worked in executive leadership positions with Florida Hospital Association and Community Health Systems. She got her start as a health policy aide in both the Florida House and Senate, focusing on various health and human service issues. Currently, she is the State Legislative Affairs Director for Moffitt Cancer Center, and I really believe she's going to be a great addition to our team. And I've already had fun introducing to her to some of our other players in the community. And I think she's going to bring a much-needed voice to our council, so I appreciate your consideration.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Jean Lafler. She is originally from Indiana, but moved to the Largo area in 1996. She's the proud mother of 3 boys. Ms. Jean has had a lifetime of volunteer services, which has included DECA, or Distributive Education Clubs of America, in high school, and the VITA as a volunteer. She's also been a volunteer as a judge at the various Strawberry Festival and the Fair County Fair for multiple years. Ms. Jean has a very interesting background. I just recently learned she's from Hawaiian descendant, and she is part of the Hawaii Huianai Akani o Hawaii, an organization sharing the cultural heritage of Hawaiians, and she is the dancer teacher of Kumu Hula. Ms. Jean is the chairperson for the Coral Heights Community Association, which is an unincorporated community in the Mid-County Community Council, and we are working very closely with her to bring resources to that unincorporated community. So she will be an excellent addition to the Mid-County Community Council. Upon the board approval of these 2 appointments, we will have 43 active community councils, 12 in North County, 18 in Mid-County, and 13 in South County. If there are any questions, both of the candidates are here for any further questions.
Are there any questions?
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Would either of the candidates or either of the now council members like to say anything?
I'll try to, be very brief, but I also would look forward to meeting all of you all at some point and getting to know you as well as you all getting to know me. I moved here in April, got recruited by Moffitt Cancer Center from Tallahassee. So this area is new to me, but I truly and strongly believe that getting involved in the community is the best way to learn your community and grow from there. So I look forward to meeting you all. Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome, both of you, and thank you for joining us, and we look forward to working with you. All right, let's move on to selection September 23rd, 2023 trim hearing board meeting dates. Laura?
Good morning. As you are aware, there's a lot of different deadlines that we have to meet in order to propose and approve the trim hearing and the budgets and the millage and so forth. In that regard, we have carefully looked at calendars that would possibly conflict with the Pinellas County School Board and with the county commissioners. And so we have proposed 3 different options to be able to meet those requirements. That would include both the initial trim hearing meeting and the final trim hearing meeting. And those dates are in your memo. Option 1 would be Wednesday, September 26th. And then in accordance with that scenario, September 20th would be the final trim hearing date. Option 2 would be on a Friday, September 8th, as well as Friday, September 22nd. And option 3 would be September 14th, which is a Thursday, as well as September 28th. All of these meetings are required to be held after 5 p.m., so they are scheduled for 5:15. As you are aware, it's pretty imperative that everyone attend that meeting, although they usually last 15 to 20 minutes. So I'll turn it back over to the chair to get feedback. I know we're missing 3 members today, so I don't know if we need additional input.
Anyone have any comments?
Yeah, I told Beth I've got a 25-day jury trial set for basically the entire month of September. I have no idea if that case is going to actually go to trial or not. I think it probably will. Whether it actually goes over that trial term, I have no idea. But it's on my calendar, so anything for September is going to have that caveat with it for me.
Anyone else? Do we think that we need to, excuse me? Oh, Bruce, I'm sorry. Okay.
The last one on that, I will get a whole little frustrated.
Okay.
So your microphone's off, but option 1 sounded better to you? Yes. Mr. Bartlett, thank you.
All right, well, for right now, let's shoot for option 1, and we'll ask to see if there's any others. We have a little bit of time to play, so. Okay?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, let's move on to approve enhancements of Laserfish to the cloud. Laura?
Mr. McCure.
Do we need a motion?
Oh, I had a motion.
We should probably
I'm
get a
sorry.
motion, and if we do need to change it, then we can bring it back
Okay.
next month. And
So do I have a
make the
motion to
change.
approve?
I make a motion that we select option 1, Wednesday, the 6th of September, and the final hearing Wednesday, the 20th of September. I motion that we select that option for our trim hearings this year.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. All right, motion's approved. Laura?
Good morning. I'm Laura Peel. I'm the Director of IT, and I am here this morning to talk to you about taking Laserfish to the cloud and seeking approval for $335,696, which would include the licensing and the implementation. So Laserfish is a system that JWB has had since 2002. It is our document repository system, and as required by Florida statute, Chapter 119, Florida records, JWB is required to retain records according to a schedule based on the document type that kind of determines the length. So we use Laserfish, all employees use it internally. We use it to classify the documents, file them, and then dispose of them at the appropriate time. It also has sophisticated workflow built into it, and all employees use it. Since 2002, we have done several updates over the years, from about 9,000 to 40,000, but all of those updates that we've made over the year have kept it on-prem, which means that the servers that it's hosted on are back in our server room in the back. So Some of the challenges that have come up with that is every time we need to do updates, major updates, we have to contract with a vendor. With this situation, BTS does take care of the servers, but our staff, the database architect actually takes care of the front end, troubleshoots it, has to install the patches, and responsible for maintenance and backup. The purchasing of the hardware and storage is what we have to have in our server room for this is also increasing in price substantially and has to be replaced every 5 years. On top of that, we have our virtual machines, which run, I will get into the technicalities, but it's expensive. It's what we need on the servers to run the system. We also have SQL licenses, Microsoft licenses, all different other things that go into it. And access for JWB employees requires that they log onto the network, then onto a VPN to get access to the Laserfish system as it's configured today, which kind of makes it difficult to troubleshoot because there's different layers and that kind of thing. Within our disaster recovery policies, we have classified Laserfish as a critical system, because again, it houses all of our documents, board meeting minutes, contracts, basically everything that we have. And if we were in a disaster, it would take a lot of time and efforts to repurchase the hardware, get it set back up, and get access to it. So this is why we started looking at the cloud. We talked to BTS, we talked to other children's service councils. They're all doing that. And we really feel because of our regulatory obligations, this being a critical system, needing immediate access, that this would be a good solution for JWB. Cloud is becoming more popular in general in the business. It increases operational efficiencies, reduces long-term costs, improves agility, and makes disaster recovery easier. So we did discuss, should we look outside of Laserfish, and we decided that was probably not the best option for us. Since 2002, we built in a lot of workflows and that kind of thing into the system. All our users are set up there. And we felt like it would be a huge effort for JWB staff to move or consider another system. So we kind of quickly ruled that out. The other thing that this cloud solution offers is a system called, or a function called Quick Fields, which would allow staff to more easily get the documents into Laserfish. What it does is it picks up standard documents like a check, where there's a check number, a vendor name, a date, and the system can read that information and quickly use that to populate it and file it in the appropriate place. So that was another definitely good option there. And so the way that the cost, let me talk about the cost for a second. The cost for maintaining the current on-premise configuration was really hard to do an apple-to-apples comparison with the cloud because it involves a lot more than just the licenses to licenses. It's involved with our network, the backups, all the licensing that we have. So we did try to make our best guess estimate, and we believe that our current system is around $55,000 to $70,000 per year to maintain based on whether we're going to be doing updates or not. And that includes about $18,000 for 80 users, along with the software, the licensing, the hardware that I already talked about. Over the 5-year period, it's estimated to cost between $275,000 and $350,000. So on page 3 of the memo, lays out the costs for the cloud computing. And with some negotiation with Laserfish, they were able to ease the transition from self-hosted to cloud by providing an initial 40% discount on the licensing and then shrink that by 10% over the next 5 years. So you can see in the table listed on page 3 how that would fall out to the $249,296 cost over 5 years. There's also a one-time implementation that would need to be, a project that we would go through with them, and that's estimated to be $78,000. Now, traditionally with them, they bill us by the hour, and traditionally with them, we have not used all of it. We have pretty good expertise in-house, so that would be the max amount. And that would include moving over 150,000 documents, workflows, templates, retention schedules, users, and so forth. So that is estimated to take about 3 months, a 3-month project. Once we go into contract, which, by the way, the contract is still being negotiated. All of this is pending the contract negotiation. Colleen and Zach have been reviewing it, and it's back in the vendor's hands right now. But they estimate it would take 3 months to start the project, 3 months to complete the project. So this project will be completed by the end of the fiscal year. I do have money budgeted for this project in our non-administration internal technology implementation budget. And the first year would be $119,014.80. So I think that covers everything. Hope I wasn't too technical. Does anybody have any questions?
You said you talked to BTS and they have their blessing on that?
Yeah, they definitely, so they're also moving more and more to the cloud. Again, it's kind of the trend of all business and IT. They support the servers, but they did not support the software portion of it. But I've spoken to them. We have a business relationship manager, and they're agreeing this is our best long-term solution.
Do they allow you then to go ahead and go right to your Laserfish and not have to go through the BTS network to get there? Where you remember you talked about the VPN and all that kind of stuff?
So that network is actually JWB's network. So we are completely separate from the county. BTS supports our network, but JWB has its own. So we log on to our computers in the morning, and then because many of our staff are out in the field, they have to log into the VPN to get to the Laserfish resources. So it's like a double login. With going to the cloud, it'll be a single sign-on. They log on to their laptop. They have direct access without any other layers being in there. Did that answer your question?
Yes, I got one more though.
Sure.
So after the 5 years, basically, we're hooked up with them and they own us when it comes time to renegotiate.
I'm sorry?
They will own us after 5 years, is that correct? We'll have no independence. We'll be totally dependent on.
Well, at the end of 5 years, we could switch systems or continue the software as a service. They won't own us. We own the data. Of course, we'll need
I
their.
meant that in the loose sense that we're not going to be in a very good, strong position to negotiate back then. In 5
Yeah,
years.
probably not. And in 5 years, as you know, the cost of everything is going up. So I don't know the exact cost going forward. They couldn't give me that, but they could guarantee the 5-year cost.
And I
So
take
at
it
that point, we could either look at a new system or,
there
continue
were no
them.
cloud options available through BTS that would
No.
have been able to do it. Okay.
And again, when we looked at like other options or switching off Laserfish, that effort is huge. We have over 2.12 terabytes of data, 150,000 documents. We already have set up in their system all the workflows, the things that relate back to the document retention schedule. Resetting all that would be a tremendous effort.
Bruce, I
And
think,
using them, keeping them, we don't have to go through all that.
Bruce, I think she answered your question slightly different. We're already locked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
Well, okay, yes.
Well,
I mean, we've been using them since 2002.
All right. The only other question I did have was, as far as the negotiations, are there anything major that we dealing with?
No, so I'll give you a brief update. So we've had contracts with Laserfish over the year that the board has approved. In fact, there was one that came in spring of 2022 for some enhancements. We've always negotiated the appropriate terms consistent with the terms that we've previously approved in the past.
And I can tell you, they do business in Florida with government agencies. The Children's Service Council of Broward is a great example. They just went to the cloud a year or so ago. So, I mean, I believe they'll fully work with us on, they did. They sent the most generic cloud service, contract over and started there.
It's
always a lot easier to do it that way and then
Right,
beg
but it's also
forgiveness on the
easy for
back
us since
end.
we've already negotiated all these terms. When we've said, okay, these are all the terms that we've had for the past 20 years that are consistent with governmental entities in Florida. So somebody over at Laserfish just has to merge their standard cloud contract with the government contract, and we should be good to go.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions, comments? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, we're approved.
Thank you.
All right, now let's move on then to approve engaging civic initiatives, LLC, process improvement consulting. Beth?
I'm going to present that. I'll just present from here, and we have Sarah Smith available if yes, wave to the crowd, Sarah, thank you, who did the, really manage this, this process. And if there are questions I can't answer, thank goodness she's here, so we're in good shape. As you know, both, I have wanted to see, our chair and this board have wanted to see us implement a process improvement project for our procurement process. There have been, numerous comments from this board about, gee, can't we get that done sooner? And it's always this balance between speed, quality of procurement, and compliance. And so it's not an easy thing to do, and somebody who doesn't understand government procurement can't come in and just say, oh, well, just do this, this, and this. That might work in the private arena just fine, but does not work here. So, so last summer we began, the royal we, Sarah Smith began looking for good sources for this kind of work. And, we did what we often do. We talked to our peers, we talked to other governmental agencies, we find out who's in that landscape. Government procurement officers have what I will date myself, used to be called listservs, but whatever they are now. But, they share information broadly and know who's who and who's out there. And civic initiatives kind of rose up as a firm that this is what they do. Their consultants are all former government procurement officers. They do redesign work, they do automation work in this space, but they know it exceedingly well. At least one of the people who would be assigned to us is deeply entrenched in Florida processes. So we have that as well. We budgeted $150,000 for this project. The proposal is for $121,000 and change, almost $122,000. I would tell you, we kicked the tires exceedingly well. We interviewed, I was part of this. We interviewed, Sarah called lots of references, and we got consistently good reviews. We can piggyback in order to do this. We went through this process with the thought that if we could find somebody who's really good we can piggyback off of, that would be better. But we were prepared to do an RFP at this point if not. So we really fully developed the scope of work and the understanding of what it was we expected to do before we landed on civic initiatives. So I would recommend that we engage civic initiatives. This is here before the board, not because it's outside of budget or plans for the year, but only because it's over $50,000, which is my spending limit.
Any comments or questions from the board? This one's okay. I'm glad to hear that there aren't any. I think we've all been asking, from looking at everyone here and saying, as long as we've been here, I think we've asked for this to happen. So I'm glad before we're gone. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right, and it's always surprising when the board doesn't have a question on a presentation like this, but I also would like to repeat what we just heard from our chairman. We've been asking for this for a while. We've been briefed on this. This didn't just show up on agenda without a tremendous amount of background information being given to the board. So at this moment, there are no questions, or at least I can only speak for myself.
The only one other thing, which I think we're all aware of and would expect, is that this is the first phase of it. So we'll get recommendations from the consultants, and then we'll also get a proposal probably from them to help us implement it. So as long as we're aware of that's the normal process, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Okay. Approve award to Gonzalez Solutions for business and approve the increase to the early childhood public awareness campaign budget. April and Sarah?
So we're going to kind of tag team this. Good morning. My name is April Pucciolo. I'm our Strategic Communications Manager, and I'll introduce Sarah Smith in a moment. But we, as promised, we're back. We presented on Turbo Babies campaign at our December board meeting, and this is a two-part action item. And so I'm going to explain, kind of give some background. Sarah's going to explain the actual ask as it relates to the solution. And then I'm going to come back as it relates to how we've quantified the need, the increased need for budget. But we've been working very hard with our business and budget and business services team to really look for a solution for procurement, for procuring all of the educational items, the pit crew brain building bags, the other collateral items. Those are the items that will be used to engage and educate our families. And what's interesting is we looked at this, we got samples, we did a spec sheet, we were gathering, the quantities that we were going to need. We realized that from the last time we did our budget assumption that things had changed, and we have many more opportunities and partners today than we did before. And so, for example, we use that new data to create a new robust plan. But for example, our CEO, as part of her annual goals, she has a reach stretch goal for 20% of all children 0 to 3 for this campaign. So the budget was created under the assumption of a 10% goal, 10 to 15% goal. So we now can quantify that, which is about 5,000 children 0 to 3. We also have a new strategic partnership opportunity with EverHealth in our pediatric practices, and they serve a quarter of all children 0 to 3. So there are a little over 24,000 children 0 to 3. They serve a quarter of those. So again, we have an opportunity to engage with them. They're going to be training their physicians and medical teams. They're going to be providing face-to-face education. And then they're going to use the pit crew bags as an engagement with the family to educate and engage the families ongoing. But they're also going to be able to track and avoid duplication so that some of our higher cost items like our pit crew bags, we won't be duplicating. And they serve our target audience. So again, that is new information that we didn't have when we first made our budget assumption. And I did want to also state that their Assistant Medical Director of Pediatrics, Sarah Kelly, Dr. Sarah Kelly, is going to be the lead for EverHealth on this campaign. We also are going to need educational items for all of our other funded agencies, and there are many that serve that 0 to 3 space. Plus, we have exciting new opportunities, 5 new innovative programs that the board just approved last month for 0 to 3, and we're really building our early childhood portfolio. So where a year ago we didn't have those programs, now we have those new programs, and they're going to need support. They're going to need training, they're going to need educational items, and they're all excited. They've already reached out to us, and they're ready to go. And then I also wanted to mention our fatherhood initiative and our grand families initiative, against reaching those target audiences, another opportunity, and then all the other community events that we'll be supporting. So now we were able to quantify the need. We were able to do a detailed specification sheet with quantities. We have the data, we just didn't know how to go about it. And that's where our experts stepped in. And I also think it's worth mentioning, we were looking for a solution not only for goods, for purchasing goods and procuring goods, but also how we were going to warehouse, kit them, put them together, and distribute them. So in stepped Sarah Smith, and Sarah is JWB's Senior Contract and Purchasing Agent.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here. So as Ms. April had said, the budget and business services unit was driven, by the Turbo Babies campaign. And as we learned more about the collaterals last July that was proposed at the board meeting, we discovered that there was some overlap with some of the existing initiatives that are already underway within JWB. So some examples of that would be like the Children's Mental Health Initiative, the Fatherhood, there's a grade level reading and a wide number of other programs and initiatives within JWB that could benefit from having a promotional novelty apparel and printing contract. So with that, we met with the internal partners to see if they would benefit from a multi-year agreement, if we could find one, to leverage or to even develop a solicitation. Part of our market research, we reached out to a number of vendors that, we asked questions to educate ourselves on some of the problems and pitfalls that are encountered with these agreements. And we also talked to community partners, government agencies, to see how they buy those things. And so after the extensive research that we provided, we discovered an agreement with Gonzalez Business Solutions, and they have competitively awarded an agreement through the Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing. And the agreement is good through 2024, but it also has 5 one-year extensions to make it good through 2029. As part of our due diligence with Gonzalez, we asked for product samples. We looked at some of our historical purchases that we've made for these initiatives and asked them to quote their pricing on those items, and we found that to be very competitive. And so the agreement itself offers a 10% discount off of manufacturer's listing. So in addition to that, we negotiated some further concessions. So one of those examples of a concession that they're making is that they have offered us a custom corporate e-store. And so that'll allow the Turbo Babies campaign, along with some of the other initiatives, to select and predefine collaterals that they routinely buy. And then also they have graphic artists and product consultants to help us select products for our initiatives that are, premium brands that comply with consumer product safety laws. And that's essential, especially given that we're giving these items out to, our families and our children. They are extending special in-column pricing to JWB in addition to the 10% discount. So what that means is, typically with these novelty contracts, the larger the quantity that you're buying, the cheaper the end unit cost is for the item. So they are extending that end price regardless of what the quantity is that we are procuring. They have a very unique opportunity that they can bin and warehouse our items. So we can make bulk buys, once or twice a year. They will warehouse and store those items for us and then ship them out on demand as we need it. So that's really important to save some money, throughout the year. Instead of just buying them as you need them, we can buy in bulk, get a better price on that, and they can warehouse that for a year for free. They have custom kitting services, which is critical to the Turbo Babies campaign. So with the custom kitting, they are taking in, there are orders that we've got, and so all the things that we've supplied in the warehouse, they will kit those into the various bags, reaching out to the age groups. So we've got 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and then also bilingual. And so they will custom kit those items for us and ship them to our partners that we need that are going to be for distribution. Additionally, the vendor has agreed to inbound track and store items that we purchase from other vendors that need to be contained in our Turbo Babies bag or other initiatives bags. So we are able to buy the educational toy directly from the manufacturer, the Turbo Babies books that we're going to get. We'll be able to buy those directly from the publisher, have those shipped to Gonzalez. They will inventory them and then also put those into the bags for us. This agreement would not preclude working with other vendors, such as local print vendors or other novelty vendors, but this agreement would undoubtedly streamline and improve efficiency of the purchasing of those types of items for distribution. In addition, the ability to buy a wide variety of unspecified promotional products and working with those, the vendors team, because they have the product specialists there, it gives us the flexibility to improve the latest promotional items and keep our public awareness and education campaigns fresh. As a status update, the board packet memo had indicated the pending negotiation to adding the warehousing and kitting services to the agreement. And I'm happy to report that that was completed last week, late last week, and it has been approved by both Gonzalez as well as the Omnia Partners Agreement. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Sarah, the only question I did have is on the warehousing side. Am I right in assuming that there is no additional cost for them to warehouse an inventory?
Correct. So for the items that are purchased from Gonzalez, there's no warehousing fees. And they have waived for the Turbo Babies campaign all warehousing fees.
Okay. Thank you.
So, but there is a charge for the kitting service, though.
Any questions?
I did just want to make a comment. I think that you all have done an amazing job in researching and vetting out the vendors on it and putting together a good package. I do want you to know that I am going to vote against it. And the reason I'm going to do it is because I think it's a high number. I think the amount of money that's spent on the novelty bag could probably be reevaluated and just brought down a little. It's not that I'm opposed to using tools and toys. I think it's a great campaign. I think you've done your due diligence. I'm very impressed with the presentation and the information that you've given us. I think you've negotiated really well with Gonzalez. I just think that maybe there's some higher end items that we could look at and maybe bring down the cost of the bag per bag. And you've been very involved in that. If there's printing costs that maybe if we went a different color, we went a neutral color, that could be changed. So I'm not opposed to the novelty items and using those as tools for the Advent health. It's just, does the bag need to be that expensive is what I would like for someone to take another look at and see if there's anything, that we could reduce from that. Because it's just, when we're talking about, and Beth, it was very, we talked a lot about the $150,000 for the bags versus the total $330,000 ask, and there's different components to that, and you've laid that out very well. But I just wanted you to understand my position on it and accept my praise for a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I guess just following up on that, have those concerns been looked into from a staff perspective, and does the staff have any insight as to whether we might be able to get a cost savings and accomplish, materially the same goal? And what would that look like if we said, come back to us in a month or two?
Sure, no, I'm happy to, and Sarah
Before
jump.
April speaks, I just want to say, and I think Sarah Mala has recognized, for what we are buying, I think we've gotten as good a deal as we're reasonably going to get. So the question would be, do we remove some of the items from the bag? Is that, and then go ahead.
That's very
April.
fair. Sarah, since this is a part 2 action item, the part 1 is really approving the store and us moving forward to piggyback with Gonzalez on, any number of items. I think part 2 and the questions that I'm hearing have to do with the total cost of the pit crew bags with all the contents in them, et cetera. We have, as Beth said, worked really, really hard. It is a complex logo with many, many colors, and it's a complex campaign with many components. As Sarah mentioned, we have 0 to 1. It's very targeted, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Lots of activity cards. It's very robust. And we could certainly remove an item out of the bag. We already really did. We removed an item or two that, our target goal was about 30, and to have kitting involved. So if we factored in staff time to put the bags together or recruiting volunteers and having warehouse space, that is all factored into that $30 a bag. So we can certainly go back and remove an item, remove a book. We tried to negotiate. That's why we're actually inbounding a couple of the items, because we were able to get a better cost for an educational toy from Mattel, Fisher-Price, at warehouse wholesale costs. So we looked at all those factors to try to get it as tight as we could, with still having a quality item that parents will use for other things. They're just not going to throw away. We really thought it was important it would be a practical item, just like our welcome baby bags, so that the message is the item, and they're using the item. They're not just going to throw it away, and they'll benefit from the education and engagement of the item.
Judge Moore, you have a question?
Yes, my question is, as it relates to the question, follow-up with Ms. Malo, I'm looking, great job, you're gonna get my vote. But to piggyback off of her, I see 6 colors on the logo. So if you took it down to 3, does the cost go down? I'm just talking about the color, the coloring. Is the coloring, is why it's so, you know?
Yeah, I'm happy. Unfortunately, I became an expert at imprinting. So the bags that you received, Sarah, can you grab a bag, please? They actually are, it's a dye sublimation, so it doesn't really matter the number of colors for this item here. But for these items that are silk printed, it does matter. And we have reduced this down to, from like 30 colors and variations of colors to about 6. So you're right, we could go even more down, but then we would have a 2 or 3 color logo, or we could go with a 1 color logo, a black and white, or pick one of the colors on it. So it wouldn't reduce it significantly at that point. We're talking about maybe $5 for this versus maybe $4.50 for an item. Now it does add up, but so those are some of the factors that we had to look into when we were, where do we want to spend our money? Do we want to spend it on the pick crew bags that we know are going to be tracked? There's not going to be duplication. There's going to be face-to-face education. They're going to report back to us. They're going to follow up at wellness checks with the family. How did you use the toy? Or did you read the book? Or what else? Did you use the activity cards that are in the bag? Versus a community event where we hand something out and we don't see them again. So those are why we're reserving those for some of the other items that, hey, we can engage somebody with a $2 or $3 item and give them the activity cards and give them the quick education that they're going to get, but we might not see them again. That's really the true awareness piece of the campaign versus the education and engagement piece that we're going to be able to do through EverHealth. So I'm happy to, I know you have your spreadsheets in your packets. One of what we call universal items would be like a magnet or the activity cards, which are a little over $2 for a pack on a ring of 20 that are laminated and are going to be tear-proof, et cetera. And so that family is going to be able to use those over and over again to pick an activity, read the activity, and do with their child. So we're really looking at those type of items that I deem universal, that everybody's going to get because they're cost effective, versus those items that are going to be a little higher cost because the kitting is involved, the warehousing is involved, and the items themselves are more involved.
Dr. Morrison Rodriguez?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment and just maybe elevate this discussion just a little bit to look at more issues of return on investment. That when we think about what it costs for a child who is unprepared for education in terms of remediation and what we have to spend to try to bring that child up to level, or we have early childhood centers who are having problems because of the discipline of their children, not being able to concentrate and sit still. And all of these are things that are trying to prevent that at the outset. So I just want us, while we're talking about the cost of things, to keep the bigger picture in mind of what we're trying to accomplish here. And I think you've done an amazing job.
And I don't disagree with that at all, but I think things like, does the onesie really have to have 4 colors? Could it have either no colors and just a generic onesie, or in pink and one in blue, right? So I don't disagree what you're saying. I think they're very valuable tools. I just am trying to be very mindful of the money that we're spending, because I'd rather see that 50 cents per onesie go to you to do remedial for the one we missed. So that's my only comment on it. And I think you all have done a fabulous job, and I think you did really well at vetting it. Please don't misunderstand my
Not at all.
concern about, is there a way, and do we need to have that bag, right? Is there a cheaper bag that we could get instead of a plastic bag with all of the colors on it? So those are my only comments on it.
Yeah.
So if I can add my 2 cents in this process. A couple of things. One, from a supply chain perspective, the cost savings alone there are actually very high. If you really think about the amount of time and effort would have to be put in, whether it's volunteers or whether it's employees doing that, that cost would rise, and we don't know what that is. So having someone warehouse it on the outside, having someone do it for free on the outside, which is impressive to me, that they would actually warehouse and inventory and kitting I know is costly, but the warehousing and inventory of those costs on a monthly basis. At least they typically, request that you pay on a monthly basis for this. So that's important. The second thing I think, which is probably more towards what Dr. Rodriguez is saying, and with what my background or familiarity is with any launching of a new product or a new service, go big in the front end. The costs associated with that, it's incredibly important that we get the message out right up front. We can adjust the pricing and the structure as you're working with the community and the people to begin to reassess what's working, what doesn't work, and the like. But that first step out into the marketplace, the first step out into the community is incredibly important. This project, from my perspective, is probably one of our most important projects that we will have in the list since 2013 step into and to really focus on. So cost associated with it, I'm sure we can work those down over time, but that initial layout into the community, that initial visible process of getting it to the community, to me is extremely important. And it has to go off without a hitch. It has to go off with everyone really, really addressing it and grabbing onto it and saying, yeah, this is what we really need. And I think with the partnerships that are out in play, it's worth the effort of spending this little extra now, knowing that you're going to work it down. You're going to work pricing down as you see what changes could happen. And maybe the bag you won't need as much of a bag. Maybe you'll find out that the onesies aren't as important to be in multicolors and those things. But that is what was been created by a team to say that's the most eye-catching, that's the most valuable component of this to really launch it successfully. So I mean that's just from my perspective. And anyway, so do I have with that said, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Nay. Okay.
Let me interrupt you. This is a 2-part action item. Part 1 was to approve the piggybacking onto the contract with Gonzalez, and then part 2 is actually the allocation of the resources from unassigned to the applicable line item in the budget. So I would assume that motion was for part 1, and now we will need a part 2 motion.
Okay. That's relative. Do I have a motion on the second part? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay. With that, motion's approved. Let's move on to the next item.
Thank you.
And by the way, again, thank you so much for the work that you guys have done on this. Finding that third-party partner, I think, is extremely valuable. Now you're just going to manage through and make it successful. Okay,
Mr.
no
McCure,
big
can I
deal.
interrupt for 1 second? Ms. Mala, did you vote no on both parts or just the second?
I actually voted no on both.
Okay, thank you.
You know, and
Just for the record, I just wanted to make sure I had it correct. Thank you.
okay. Now, moving on to action item F, 2023 Strategic Public Policy Considerations. Beth?
This was in your packet. I want to kind of put some context to this. This board, well, first, part of the mission of the Juvenile Welfare Board is advocacy and taking positions beyond the work that we do with funds provided to us by the taxpayers. And we have taken positions before that are fairly similar to the ones in this document. While we don't expect that this will be a year in Tallahassee where we will be actively lobbying for any one or the other pieces here, it is important for this board to give me and to give Becca Teeter the positions that you all are comfortable with and that are JWB positions on these various significant items, so that, as we all know, as things happen, and they can happen on a dime, in particular in Tallahassee, that Becca and I are prepared to know what we can say, what we can back, what we can, sign on to a group letter for, all of those kinds of things. So I will just touch on these, and if you all have any questions, these are not new issues to any of you. The first is to change the school readiness program eligibility levels. And the information is there, but the fact is that by using the poverty level as opposed to the state median income level, even if you use the state median income level, you would have families paying more than is prescribed for early childhood care. But at the poverty level, obviously it is a much, much greater percentage of an individual or a family's income. And that just makes it unaffordable for families to access any early readiness childhood care, but in particular those of high quality. And we have a sector that is absolutely in crisis. That's true across the nation. It's absolutely true here in Pinellas County. This would make a difference if, through the Early Learning Coalition, funds were provided to more families who need that. The second is to expand state funding to provide all-day voluntary pre-K, and this is consistent with the last public policy stances that I've seen with the school board. As you may know, the voluntary pre-K or the VPK is now within I guess what I used to call the K through 12 budget, but I guess it's the VPK through 12 budget. I don't know, is that right, Rebecca? So under the Department of Education. And so that provides great opportunities, but again, providing half-day really limits that to those folks who can afford somehow to scramble and get the other half-day covered. Now, I want to say JWB provides a lot of that wrap care for half-day VPK, but while Florida has really taken the lead in having universal VPK, it is a half day, and the full day is really what kids need. School success, what's often called healthy meals for all. This is probably mostly a local, I call it a local implementation issue, and that is to say that our school board and those who run the food services for our school board would say that having someone, I mean, just imagine in each lunchroom, the difference in staffing and the difference in effort in having all kids just go through the line because everybody qualifies for lunch without dealing with paying for one lunch and are you behind and do you have a dad, and the issues of shaming kids and Do you let them not have anything? Do you let them, and in the old days, it was the gross, I'm sorry, but anyway, it was cheese sandwich. And everybody knew if that's what you got, that's because you didn't have enough money to pay for a relatively inexpensive lunch. So the rules around how you do that and how you make that happen are complex. I do want to give credit to our school board and their folks who really work hard at this. But again, if there are opportunities for us to pipe up and support that, we want that to be part of our public policy considerations. And then an exciting one always to talk about is the Sleep Baby Safely campaign. Its success, you all know how successful it's been in Pinellas County. It was extended to Duval County. They adopted it and saw a drop of 75% of preventable sleep-related deaths in this last year. Within the Department of Health's budget, there was money to extend that program to 8 more counties across the state, those counties with the highest levels of preventable child sleep-related deaths. We would propose that it be extended to all 67 counties. All of our kids deserve that. The program works. And I think it's an extraordinary example of the Juvenile Welfare Board first understanding an issue, digging deep and understanding what the real causes were, working collaboratively, in this case with the medical examiner who understood it and was documenting what were preventable deaths, and then devising a plan and a way of reaching families in order to not just let them know, but actually do it in a way that changes behavior and saves children's lives. And this program has lots of partners in this, all of the birthing hospitals. We certainly have first responders, and if Chief Milliken were here, he could pipe up about that. Many of them, and I know Lilman, include the provision of pack-and-plays to any family they encounter as they go into the home for a variety of reasons. And sadly, they are the first in a home when a baby has died. And so they're keenly aware of how important this is. But if they're in a house and there is not a separate place for a baby, they see a baby and not a separate place for the baby to sleep, they provide a pack and play, and so that there is a place for that baby to sleep alone, which is, alone on your back without extra stuff in the crib that you can suffocate on. Those are the rules. In strengthening community, we have a few things that we have had each year. One is the SNAP program, or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Having the money there and having the program there is important, but it's also important that bureaucratically it's not any harder to get on the program, get those resources and keep those resources. And so one of the things that tends to just drop that bureaucratic burden is reapplying or applying every, moving that from 6 months to 12 months. At one time, it was every month. And the fact is, with the relatively small supplemental food that is provided by SNAP, it literally was not worth it for a significant number of folks to even access a program that's very effective in helping to reduce hunger. Similarly, we look at the summer electronic benefit transfer benefits to children, that summer nutrition program. We all know that for many kids, the only reliable source of nutritious food is within the school system. If they're not at school in the summer, that's important to provide other mechanisms to provide food for them. So those are the public policy considerations. Those are, we sort of view these as positions that we would hope you would approve, and therefore be able to put these words into Becca's mouth and my mouth at the appropriate times.
Any comments or questions?
I thought the work was really comprehensive, right on target to the strategic plan of Juvenile Welfare Board. Had a conversation with Beth about this, so I will obviously endorse this.
I totally agree with everything you just said. The one thing that Beth and I have spoken about, as well as Becca, is that although we even know that, this isn't a year that we're going to look for funds, we're not asking for anything, but I think this is a year still where we really need to ensure that our leadership in Tallahassee understand the value that this organization has created and can continue to create. Sleep Baby Safely is a prime example of how we can take a program that started here and expand it across not only the state, but potentially across the country. I hope to see Turbo Babies be the same, but we have others as well, and I think that message needs to be taken to Tallahassee and continue to remind them of the value that this organization has really done over the years and will continue to do going forward. So with that, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion's approved. Let's move on to the JWB Early Child Care Provider Scholarships and thank yous. Dr. Morrison Rodriguez.
Thank you. So those of you who've been on the board for a while know that we've had an early child care scholarship program. I don't think it's news to anyone that one of the major challenges in the child care sector is staffing, retention, quality, and training of staff. And we're really hoping that with this scholarship program, we're helping to address those challenges to providing quality child care. Thank you. So I just want to give you a few statistics on our scholarship program. This is with the St. Pete College Early Childhood Education Degree Scholarship Program, and of course it aligns with JWB's Early Child Development and School Readiness Result areas. Scholarships provide students the opportunity to pursue their academic goals and realize their dreams, and obviously serve children in the process. Over the long term, JWB's support promotes the continued vitality of this community by helping to ensure the skills, competencies, and preparedness of tomorrow's workforce. For fall of 2022, a total of 13 students were awarded a total of $13,000. The FY23 budget for St. Pete College Early Childhood Education Degree Scholarship Program is $60,000. So I would say that this is a relatively small investment, financial investment for JWB for, I think, what will be some very significant returns. We really need to get a handle on the child care workforce. So this is one step in that direction. What I would like to do now is, those are the statistics. Let's look at the people who are behind those statistics and give you some feedback from scholarship recipients as to what these scholarships have meant to them.
Hello, I'm Sabrina. I just want to say thank you so much for the Juvenile Welfare Board scholarship. This scholarship has helped me for 2 terms now to make sure that I have textbooks and supplies I need to get through college, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Evans, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you again for supporting my education through the Juvenile Welfare Board scholarship. Thanks to the scholarship, I am able to continue my education and be one step closer to finishing my degree this coming May. I'm looking forward to finishing my degree and starting the next chapter of my career, working with professional development training and education. Again, thank you so much for your support. And
Hi, my name is Ruth Alejandro, and I want to express my sincere gratitude to you for making the Juvenile Welfare Scholarship possible. I was pleased to be selected as a recipient for the fall 2022 semester, and I am deeply grateful for your support. It is a great honor to receive your generous Juvenile Welfare Scholarship that will help fund the expenses of my education at St. Petersburg College. I am most grateful for your belief and support, and I would like to thank you for choosing me. I'm currently majoring in educational studies with an early childhood education pathway. I hope to become an early childhood educator upon graduating from St. Petersburg College. The financial assistance you provided will be of great help to me in paying my educational expenses and allowing me to concentrate more on my studies. Thank you for your generosity and support. I promise I will work very hard and eventually give back to others, both as a teacher and possibly a scholarship to future students like myself. My educational pursuits would not be possible without the generous support from your scholarship. Thank you again for enabling me to pursue my dreams.
Hi, JWB. My name is Amber Hutchinson, and I am a mother of two boys. I am 33 years old, and I am very grateful to receive this scholarship money to help me get through the terms. I'm without words because without this funding, I wouldn't be able to purchase this new laptop since the one I was working on was about 13 years old, and it took a crash on me right after summer ended, the summer term ended. I got a nice working laptop now, and I'm taking classes, and this money has been very helpful, and I hope to continue to receive it to get more funding for my books and more computer paper because I am printing everything out and saving it for documentation. This has helped so much. Being in childcare, I am an assistant director and a BBK teacher. I've been doing this for 16 years now. I kind of lost count after 13. I've been doing this since I was 18. My mother is in childcare, and I've worked very closely with JWB with the 21st Century when I was working with the middle schoolers, and now back in preschool. I absolutely love it. All these classes are such a blessing, helping me and the children I work with, and also helping my son who has some delays as well. I just want to continue on furthering my education and showing my two boys that it is never too late to go to college. It's never too late to pursue your career. Just want to push it to them. Don't start too late like I have. Again, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you and your community has done for all of us students who's received this money donation. Thank you and have a great day, and hope to see you next term.
Hi, my name is Daniela Kravitz, and I would like to thank you, the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, for the Juvenile Welfare Board scholarship that I received on fall of 2022 term. I'm very grateful for receiving this scholarship. Because of your kindness, I'm able to continue to take classes, continue my studies. I was able to pay for my books and supplies and computer. I want to express my gratitude, and I'm very honored to receive your scholarship. Thank you so much.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? And I would note that we recently approved a special counselor for this program to support the scholarship recipients further, helping them to keep on track and focused on their studies and any issues they may be running into. So this is money well spent.
I just would like to echo that, money well spent. Thank you.
Yes.
I totally agree.
So do I. Any other comments or questions? Thank you for this hard work. It definitely is extremely important, and I'm glad to see it's making a difference. Okay, let's move on then to the Chief Executive Officer's report. Beth?
All right, well, Happy New Year. And I would just give you a little review of some of what was going on besides the hard work you saw the results of here over the holidays at JWB. Each JWB department celebrated the holidays with their staff in unique ways, and I'd point out there wasn't a penny of taxpayer money involved. Our administrative department gathered for a holiday breakfast at the Hilton Carillon Park, compliments of Chief Linda Leedy. CFO Laura Brock's finance team sponsored a holiday luncheon at the Break Room Grill, complete with a gift exchange and personalized notes from her to each of her staff for appreciation. And Chief Barbara Morrison Rodriguez Evaluation and Innovation Team was treated to a surprise holiday potluck luncheon at the JWB office, orchestrated by program evaluator Jesse Strong and his wife. So meanwhile, staff who work with Chief Program Officer Karen Bogus and her Community Impact and Program Administration Department were out spreading cheer in the community. The Mid-County Community Council brought joy gifts and holiday dinner to families residing in the Lodges apartment complex in Pinellas Park. I was privileged to attend the event, as was your chair, Mike McCurrick. There were council members. Oh, and I should remember there was Santa there, as well as Pinellas Park city officials and youth leadership. In total, 5 families were adopted, and I got to tell you, they, having been shopping for 9 and 10-year-old boys, knowing what it is they want for these kids did very well. So 5 families were adopted, and everybody, and I mean everybody in a whole variety of ways, certainly primarily the council, stepped up to fill their wish lists. And those families selected ranged from a single mother of 4, she was recently diagnosed with cancer, to little Ray, who is in remission from a serious illness. South County Community Council also adopted a child for the holidays, visited his school to deliver the gifts, and surprised him with special recognition. The Dr. Frank Scruggs Award for Academic Achievement, named in memoriam for a long-standing South County Council member. While staff celebrated and spread goodwill during the holidays, I would want to make sure you knew they also worked very hard across the holidays, and I think this is evidenced by the action items you saw here today, plus ongoing heavy lifts by staff to support our school readiness and school success, new program procurement, workforce stabilization, and more. Yesterday morning, I had the privilege of speaking before our Pinellas legislative delegation. 2 minutes per speaker, right, Ms. Malo? So much easier to speak longer, but anyway, I did it. It was an opportunity to thank them for their ongoing commitment to children, remind them of our investments, work, values, and impact, and share how one of our innovative initiatives, Sleep Baby Safely, is expanding its life-saving best practices statewide due to funding added to the Department of Health budget last year. Last month, it was actually the evening of our December board meeting, JWB hosted another very well-attended Growing Hope Suicide Prevention Town Hall at the SPC Clearwater campus, where board member and division chief Jim Milliken delivered closing remarks. So Jim's not here, but thank you, Jim. The formula for this series is really working, from keynote speakers to youth panels, really hearing youth voices in very authentic ways, to separate breakout sessions for youth and for parents and other adults. JWB's Children's Mental Health Initiative and our partners are working to raise awareness, destigmatize mental health, and lift up the youth voice. I don't have to tell you that youth suicide is really an epidemic at this point in time, and it is a community of folks who are working very hard on this issue. We are one of those. Upcoming events, and I hope you all have on your calendar, the JWB Children's Summit. We hope you've registered and you're going to come Friday, January 27th. From 8:30 to 10 a.m. at the St. Petersburg College Seminole campus. The event title is Imagine What the Future Holds for Our Children. So we're sort of pivoting from looking back over 75 years to looking forward. Our keynote speaker is Sean Snaith, who's a nationally recognized economist in the field of business and economic forecasting. So it's definitely a looking forward kind of theme. Linda has had the opportunity to hear him. He's really a vibrant, fun, engaging speaker, so I know you all will enjoy that. We'll also unveil our fiscal year annual report video and publicly announce our Turbo Babies campaign. So it should be a meaty but celebratory hour and a half that we're together. The response to date has been enthusiastic and seats are filling up. As you know, this is not an everybody in the county can come kind of an event. It's in a medium-sized venue, so we encourage you to register. And then as another reminder, we hope that you'll join us on Monday, January 30th at JWB here in this boardroom for a public announcement on the statewide expansion of JWB's Sleep Baby Safely campaign. And we hope we have scheduled to have representatives from the Florida Department of Health here to be part of that announcement. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Beth. The information items are in front of you. Does anyone have any comments or questions on those? Seeing none, do we have any open agenda? On the open agenda, do we have any comment cards?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have Lariana Forsythe from CASA to speak about the CASA HUD update.
On button helps. Good morning. My name is Lariana Forsythe. I'm the CEO of CASA. I wanted to provide a quick update on our Family Justice Center. We formally launched in October. Since that time to yesterday, we have seen a 67% increase in survivors that we're seeing. That's a huge amount. In Florida, we've traditionally concentrated on shelter. The Family Justice Center co-locates various partners, including the state's attorney's office, the school district, mental health support, into one location. Survivors and their children can receive services immediately. So we are seeing great success with that. Excuse me. The second update that I'd like to provide is that we were recently, just yesterday actually, yesterday was obviously a big day, approved to provide additional transitional housing in the county. We have permanent supportive housing in South County. We have transitional housing in South County. This new project will concentrate on bringing transitional housing to North County. So we're very excited about that. Any questions for any of that information?
I have a question as
Yes.
far as your traditional, transitional housing is concerned. If the mom and or dad, but mostly it's moms, if they're with CASA and they're in need, is a referral needed or they just come knock on your door? How does that work?
So the entry point would be through the Family Justice Center, which walk-ins, it's walk-in every day. They would meet with a case manager. They would determine what kind of program they would be qualified for. So we have 3 different housing programs. We have shelter, we have all sorts of different things. They would see what they qualify for and then put them into those programs.
Follow up to that, I'm sorry. How long does it take to get the housing, and do they need their children right away? Or can you guys give them a date certain for housing so that we could consider that when we're thinking about sheltering children?
So it depends on availability and it depends on the program, because there are 3 different housing programs that are run through HUD. They all run differently. So it's hard for me to answer your question, but we are working with both clients in the shelter or who have other living arrangements as we arrange for those housing options for them. So in the program, just to give you some numbers, we're housing several hundred people every year, and this will add, of course, more capacity.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
How many units of transitional housing do you have available now?
For permanent supportive housing, we have more than 50 units. Transitional housing in South County, we have 7 units. We were approved for what's called scattered site in North County. We are looking to purchase land and a building to actually convert into transitional housing. The real estate market being what it is right now, we haven't been able to do that. So the approval yesterday was for scattered site. So we will be using every single dollar that we have available to us through the HUD program to get as many units as possible in North County as soon as possible.
Any other comments or questions? Loriana, thank you so much for your update. You are proof of what we were just talking about, what we're going to see at the summit, and that's answering today's questions, but looking forward to the future. And where do we go? The Justice Center is amazing. If you haven't had an opportunity to go see it, please do, because it is a one-stop shop for everyone that needs the support, and with a 67% growth rate, says it's working. So again, thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I want to give kudos to our state attorney, Bruce Bartlett, who is a key partner in making that work.
Okay, so before we adjourn then,
I have one
Mr.
item.
I'm sorry? Yes.
I have one item. I'd like to go back to the topic of the trim hearings. As I look at the back of the agenda page, one of those dates, whether it's September 6th or September 20th, would be the addition of the board meeting at 3 p.m. Is there any decision on which of those two dates would be the 3 o'clock board meeting so that calendars can be held?
It would be the earlier of the two.
September 6th would
Correct.
be the 3 p.m. board meeting, trim hearing starting at 5:15. Thank you.
Good, thank you for bringing that up. Mr. Butler?
Okay, I'm excited. Here we go. First one is Lilia Pletnup, 17 years. It's a long time.
Wow.
And William Bravo Garcia, 1 year. Gail Ingraham, 1 year. And the ever famous Immaculate Matt, 1 year. What a name.
That is. Okay. Is there any other agenda item that we need to cover? If none, meeting's adjourned.